Hey folks, how are you
Yeah.
doing? We are live, and today we are going to be talking to Chris Ramsbottom from the Amethyst Centre because Chris has just launched a new podcast, Walking the Path, and I just wanted to kind of get her kind of take on it. I wanted to see why she set it up, what she wants to achieve with it, and what kind of content she's going to be sharing. So, Chris, thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing?
It's my pleasure. I'm very well, thank you.
Good, good,
Thanks for having
good.
me. Thanks for
No,
facilitating this.
No, it's good, and I am absolutely chuffed that you've launched your podcast, Walking the Path. Tell us a little bit about it in just a quick little bit before we get into the more detail of it.
Yeah, well, it's about talking to people who acknowledge their spirituality and who are walking the spiritual path, and talking to them about what it means to them, seeing if there's any pointers for the rest of us.
Brilliant. So I can imagine that everyone's on a slightly different spirituality journey,
Yeah.
and that might change during the course of their lives, depending on what happens and kind of the experiences that they've done. So, it's, so for me, it's quite cool to hear people's experiences. Um,
Mm.
what does spirituality mean to you? How do you define spirituality?
Uh, it has different definitions for different people, but for me, it's about being connected to everything, because we're all made of stars. We are stardust, um, and we are made of the same things that stones and the sea and animals are made of. And to me, spirituality is acknowledging that connection between everything on earth and beyond, and acknowledging that we can only actually perceive a tiny part of that everything, and leaving
Brilliant.
room for the rest of it to come into our experience.
Cool. And have you always been spiritual?
Well, yes, I haven't always followed the spiritual path, but yeah, even when I was a little girl, I had invisible friends, and they weren't invisible to me, but they were to everybody else, and that took some getting my head round, I can tell you. And I still actually have invisible friends, and some people can see them, and I can't, but I still talk to them. but uh,
And
but yeah, I did actually um, run away from it when I was in my teens because it scared me, and I
yeah,
wasn't in the right place for it to be nurtured or developed at all. And I was denying it until I was in my 40s, really.
wow. And
Yeah.
I know we did an interview where you go into a lot more detail of your kind of path and the kind
Mm.
of journey that you've made, and talking about the people who have been inspirational to you, been leading
Yeah.
figures and helped you along the way, which I think is episode 2. But tell us
Yeah.
about the actual podcast. Where did the name come from, Walking the Path?
Well, I'm a teaching Reiki master, and the one thing I say to all my students is this is your path and you must walk it, because I am not a guru. The name is the Reiki master, but that just means that there aren't any more attunements in the system of Reiki I follow. So it's up to you then to walk the Reiki path. Um, I can help. I can be a guide to my students, but I'm certainly not a guru, and I'm not somebody who will say this is the path and you must walk it. I say this is your path and you must walk it, because we are all different. Some of us
Love it.
have different experiences to others, and that really does help other people if you share them, because they don't think that their experiences are strange or unusual. They think that they are actually a normal part of being a spiritual person.
Mm. Well, as you said, when you were 17 and you were getting these experiences, these
Mm,
were natural to you. You didn't know any different. That was
mm,
that was you, and that could
yeah,
be scary. That could be frustrating,
yeah,
at the same time, but also liberating as well. And the one bit I love about the podcast is that I hear you're going to be interviewing different people about their experiences.
yes, yeah. Some of my students, couple of my heroes, which I'm absolutely thrilled skinny about, but I don't say who until they're done, because many are slip and all that. Um, and anybody else who wants to be interviewed about their spirituality is very welcome to get in touch, and I'll interview them. Um, but I'm as curious as anybody else. I think I said on the preliminary episode that I'm just a nosy woman. Really, I just want to know other people's experiences and any tips they have for us.
Love it. And why the podcast now?
Well, it's the right time. Last year I had COVID, and what COVID does to you is it's not the same for any two people. A bit like spirituality, really. And for me, it was more. It attacked my brain more. And for somebody who teaches and runs a business, that's quite scary. When you're suddenly faced with the fact that you can't even access words that are behind a brick wall, it's very scary. But now I'm recovered, thankfully, and I've got my brain back. And I was looking for something to sort of work on the word part of my brain. Um, and then you came up with this podcast, 5-day podcast thing, and I thought, well, actually, if I don't, if it's a way to connect with people, connect with individuals and a lot of people. So this is going to be therapy for me, after a fashion, but also it's going to do something which I have been doing at the Amethyst Centre. So it's a way to continue that, because we do have spiritual development classes at the Amethyst Centre, and we have spiritual healers there. So it's a way of continuing that, because I was very frustrated when lockdowns meant we couldn't continue that. So it just seems to be a project whose time has come now.
Brilliant. And do you know what? I'm really glad you said about the 5-day challenge, because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to set it up. Because I think we've had a previous conversation about you launching a podcast ages ago. And
Yeah.
you've been on my podcast. You spoke at Grow Live 2020. And it's always been on, from my impression, it's always been on your radar. But this gave you the opportunity to kind of really launch into it.
Yeah. Yeah, the stars aligned, as they say, and here we are.
They do. And funny enough, if you listen to episode 2, which is of Walking the Path, notice how I keep saying walking the path, walking the path, walking the path, walking the path podcast. Then you'll be able to hear how actually that relates to one of your kind of leading inspirations mentioned to you about Reiki.
Yes. My lovely friend Jeannie, who I hope is listening to this, she was my teaching assistant when I was teaching for the Richmond Fellowship, and she's the sort of person who, when she walks in the room, the room lights up, and she sort of exudes calm and peace. And I said to her one day, "Well, Jeannie, how do you do this? I want to do this." She said, "Oh, it must be the Reiki then." And I said, "Well, you must teach me, because I really want to do this." And she said, "Well, I can't, because I'm not at the right level. But we have a saying, which is, when the student is ready, the teacher appears." So she says it will find you. And I had to wait 8 years, but it did find me.
But that's the thing. If you try to delve into it when you're not ready, either you're not going to take it, or it's not going to take to you, and
Yes,
it's not going to work. You're not going to get the full benefit.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. I'm just going to kind of quickly kind of recap what we've been talking about for the people who have just joined us. But please go back and watch. We've been talking about the launch of Chris's new podcast called Walking the Path. It's available. Actually, Chris, where is it available?
Well, it's at Spotify, but it's done on Anchor, which is part of Spotify. So it's on Spotify and Google Podcasts. I know that, and I think there's half a dozen other sites it's on now. They keep popping up on my feed to say you are now available on whatever, and I've never heard of them. But I know it's on Google Podcasts and Spotify.
There's a lot out there.
Obviously, we share it onto Facebook and Twitter, so that you'll be able to find it. We've got a Facebook page. So.
And how many episodes have there been so far?
So far, this is 2, I think, isn't it? Yes, 2. Recording number 3 next week, and I'm already having kittens about that one.
It's going to be fun.
And I've got another 2 people in the pipeline, so I've got to set dates for them. And so the more the merrier now. So we want some more people to step forward and talk to me about their spirituality.
Well, that leads on to a really good point. If people wanted to kind of get in touch with you about their spiritual journey, or support the show, or listen to the show, how can they? How can they get in touch with you and find out the info?
Well, the best way, I guess, is email at hello@amethystcentre.com. All these are listed on the podcast site. Facebook, of course, we have a page, Walking the Page, which if you're watching this via Facebook, you'll already know about, I think. Podcasts via Spotify and Anchor. I think Anchor has a scheme where you just hop on and search. So you can search for Walking the Path with Chris Ramsbottom and I pop up. I'm hoping that this is going to be on the Amethyst Centre's YouTube channel as well, if we can work out how to do that.
I will send you the file, so therefore you can upload it onto the YouTube channel. More than happy to do that. For me, it's been a pleasure working with this, because actually it's quite a cool project for both me and actually as a podcast producer to be able to do it. But also, I do really think it's going to be a podcast that can help a lot of people. It can clarify a lot of points in their lives. And if someone's not sure about which direction they want to go, by hearing experiences from other people, that could be quite powerful for them.
Yes, I think you're right. There's definitely a move away from sort of the big monolith religion type things of spirituality or spiritualism, and towards the individual experience of spirituality. I'm not decrying spiritualism in any way. It's just I am not a spiritualist. We do have the spiritual healer from Villiers Street Spiritualist Church. When he closed, he works from the centre. You see, he's one of my mentors. But we all, regardless of whether we follow a religion, our spirituality is our personal thing, and we take what resonates and we leave the rest.
This is good point. And you mentioned the centre, and I mentioned at the start the Amethyst Centre. Tell us about it. What is the Amethyst Centre for the people who don't know?
Right. The Amethyst Centre, I set that up 6 years ago, 2015. Because I was a therapist, I wanted somewhere to practice from. But I was also getting older, and I wanted to bring on the next generation. So we train the next generation of therapists up as well. But we have 3 rooms for therapists of any persuasion to hire. So we have physiotherapists working from there, counsellors, hypnotherapists, and also people like me, aromatherapists, massage therapists, Reiki healers. Anybody with who is a therapist is welcome to come and work from the centre. So it's a safe environment, because we have a fully staffed reception. It's fully serviced. You can use all our equipment and towels and whatnot if you want to, and we'll do all the washing for you as well. Which, if you're a massage therapist, really, washing is the bane of a massage therapist's life. But we'll do all that for you if you like. Yeah, it's basically, if you like, serviced accommodation for therapists. But unfortunately, we're not allowed to open at the moment.
So as well as kind of the podcast being a lockdown project, how have you, if you don't mind me asking, how was your kind of lockdown treated the Amethyst Centre? What are you doing now instead of being hands-on in the centre?
Yeah, it's mothballed basically. We are in the very fortunate position to get local authority grants to pay the bills. So at least I have a centre to reopen when Boris says we can all go back to work. But we are locked down. I can sell crystals, I can do tarot readings, and people are very welcome to contact me and book those. But at the moment, it's so frustrating. I was in there yesterday, and it just made me so sad, because it's all there, it's all set up, it's waiting. We did all the COVID preparation. We spent lots of money on changing furniture and getting cleaning equipment in, and we can't use any of it. So it's so frustrating.
Yeah, but as you said, it's all ready. When the click comes, you can go back into it.
We can just walk in the day after, and off we go. We can open again.
Lovely. So
the teaching, I have to say, the teaching side has continued, because the tutor, Lindsay Brooks, who's from Brooks Beauty in Nuneaton, she's a dab hand at Google Classroom, so she's been running the body massage and aromatherapy courses via Google Classroom. But the one thing you can't do remotely is teach people how to massage. So when we go back, we will need some case studies if people want to have a massage. I will let you know when the cheap massages are available.
Brilliant. And I'm guessing, would that be on the Amethyst Centre Facebook and Twitter pages?
Yeah.
Aces, 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 aces. So just to kind of quickly finish off this interview, because we've been talking for 15 minutes. Walking the Path is going to be talking about people's spiritual journeys, and it's going to be really kind of focusing on how they got to it, how they're using it at the moment, and maybe what the next stage is as well. Next stage for them. Is there anything else that you want to add that we haven't covered in this chat about walking the path?
I think what I want to tell people is that I'm not judging your spiritual path. This is not a case of people picking you apart. This is a case of you saying to people what's worked for you, because what works for you might not work for somebody else. But perhaps they need to know about it, to look at it, and then to make their own mind up. So it's non-judgmental. I have asked my Muslim or Sikh friends if they'd like to take part, and they're thinking about it. I think they're cautious and wary that we're going to be nasty to them and tell them that they're on the wrong path. I would never do that. That's nothing to do with me. It's to do with you who are walking the path. It's your path, and if you want to walk a Muslim path, then that's your path. I don't mind. If you want to tell me about it, that's fantastic. Yeah. So if you have a spiritual experience, and if you acknowledge your spirituality, then come and talk to me.
Lovely. And please repeat the contact details for the people who missed it at the start.
Okay, if you can email me at hello, HELLO, at amethystcentre.com. I'm on Twitter, which is at the Amethyst Centre, CNT, it's all one word. I ran out of space. So the Amethyst Centre. I'm on Instagram as the Amethyst Centre boss. On Facebook, of course. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube, the Amethyst Centre on YouTube. And we're on Spotify, of course, now with Walking the Path with Chris Ramsbottom.
You can't forget Spotify. You can't forget Spotify now. That's brilliant. And so episodes 1 and 2 are already out and they're available to listen. When's the next one going to be out? When's the episode number 3, and how often are they going to be released?
Probably every 3 to 4 weeks. So we're recording episode 3 next week, and hopefully that's going to be out the week after. And as I say, I've got to get some dates from the other people yet, so I don't know when we're recording the others. But hopefully, episode 3 will be out in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Brilliant. Well, Chris, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for everyone watching and listening to this. And please check out Walking the Path, the brand new podcast by Chris Ramsbottom from the Amethyst Centre, available now on, as Chris has said, Spotify, Anchor, and it's coming to a podcast channel near you. I like that ending. Thank you very much, Chris, for your time.
My pleasure, and thank you for facilitating this.
That's all right. Take care.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching. Have a good one.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye now.